The essay I'm about to show you got this student into Georgetown, Stanford, and more. It's the ultimate proof that literally anything can be an amazing Common App essay topic, whether it's a trip to Costco, making protein bars in your kitchen, or this pocket constitution. I'm Kevin from the Elevated School, Yale grad, amateur breakdancer, and pro college counselor who's helped students from every background imaginable get into every single top 20 American university, year after year after year. Our secret? Storytelling. Here's my pinky promise to you guys, my dear virtual little siblings. I'll read this example motif essay, then analyze and explain exactly how it works so that you guys can leverage and apply the same techniques in your own Common App essays, or really any story that you're trying to write. Let's begin. Tucked away. In the politics section at a book go round, I stumbled upon a pocket constitution. At 13, I was curious about the laws that govern our nation, so I decided to buy it. Quickly, it became my personal pride. I put my new pocket constitution into my school bag, letting it slip out to spark curiosity among my classmates. Along my textbooks, it soon acquired creases from repeated use. In middle school, I'd participate in discussions after class with my history teacher, where I routinely referenced my constitution. When incarceration was brought up, my hands turned to the 13th Amendment. I flipped to the 12th Amendment to teach me about Mike Pence's role in certifying an election. In 9th grade, my pocket constitution joined a stack of books on my desk. Among titles like The Discovery of India, War on Peace, and Eleanor, it stood out, its binding showing signs of strain under the weight of these companions. Yet, as my interest in politics led me to read more, it also changed me. One evening, after a lengthy dinner debate, my dad frowned. "Beta, you've changed. Stop preaching like you know it all. There's often more to the story." My first reaction was denial. But my next thought brought me back to the question of the ship of Theseus. Does the ship remain the same if all its parts are replaced over time? I stared at my pocket constitution. Was I the same person who'd bought it? Yes and no. I was more passionate about politics than ever, but I'd also stopped listening. Around the same time, I started to question the flaws in my beloved Constitution. The Second Amendment ignited debate about gun rights and school safety, while the 22nd Amendment faced scrutiny amid election concerns. Theseus' ship came sailing back into my mind. I wondered whether our Constitution's core principles remained intact, or if its evolving interpretations were actually steering us further from the intentions of our founding fathers. This past May, as I retrieved my pocket constitution from my backpack, the morning before my A-Push exam, its cover fluttered to the floor. I panicked. This little book had become my talisman, and there it lay, looking forlorn and detached, much like my hopes of acing my history test. Rushing over to the nearest Office Depot, I handed over my precious book. They promised to work their magic, and true to their word, I returned the following day to collect it. And yet, as I held the freshly bound Constitution in my hands, I felt a pang of disappointment. Its binding was pristine, devoid of the creases that had marked its previous life. It felt like meeting a childhood friend who had grown up too fast, the rough edges smoothed out by time. I stared at the little book, wondering if I was even asking the right questions. Instead of focusing on whether this Constitution is still the same Constitution, or am I still the same person, perhaps it's more important to ask if both can evolve to address the ever-shifting needs of our society. Just as the Constitution must remain flexible and resilient, so too must I learn to navigate change and embrace different perspectives. This year, I brought my pocket constitution to the DNC. As I stood in the arena among people of diverse backgrounds and political views, I felt hopeful for a future where our legal systems and their enforcers are both enduring and adaptable. I envision a time with less polarization, recognizing that differing opinions stem from varied views on what is best for a country. In college and beyond, I'll continue to proudly carry my pocket replica constitution to remind myself of these values. And I hope in doing so, I'm given opportunities to engage others in discourse that I believe is not only in the spirit of what the authors of the Constitution intended, but also helps others to turn disagreements into discoveries. Damn. Out of the 1,000+ essays that I've read and analyzed, this one is top 10, no cap. This type of essay, the motif essay, again, it's perfect for kids who don't know what to write about. Here's the thing, your motif, it can be literally anything. It could be a physical object like the pocket constitution, a teddy bear or plushie that you want at the county fair, or even a family tradition like making gingerbread houses during Christmas, during the holidays, or constructing paper lanterns for a more cultural event or holiday. At its core, the motif essay is about one word, growth. In our example essay, notice how the pocket constitution grew and transformed too, right? It's a mirror of the author's own internal, emotional, and intellectual changes. By the way, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Reason being, I'm actually going to be editing your essays for free on YouTube later this fall. I do it every single year. And last cycle, a few of those guys actually really benefited, told me that because of this workshop, they were able to get into their dream school. So that could be you too. Returning back to the motif essay. How to begin? It's honestly quite simple, guys. Just begin by introducing your motif. What is it? When and how did it come into your life? And what's its significance? Our example essay opened with this paragraph, which I'll show again on the screen. Instantly, we're offered the context. The motif is clearly this cute little pocket constitution, and it first entered the author's life when they were 13 at this merry book go-round. By the way, take note, this is also a subtle way to say, ever since I was a teenager, I've been interested in law and politics and public policy. This isn't something that I just randomly got interested in last week. It's something that I have been into for years, since I was 13. The next step is to consider key moments when either your motif changed or your perspective on your motif changed. In our example essay, the author actually features 6 significant moments, each of which is introduced in chronological order. Let's dig a little bit deeper into one of those moments, when the author reflects on their book collection. In 9th grade, my pocket constitution joined a stack of books on my desk. Among titles like The Discovery of India, War and Peace, and Eleanor, it stood out, its binding showing signs of strain under the weight of these companions. Guys, pro tip. Just from the titles alone, we get concrete proof of the student's love for history and politics. At the same time, the motif here perfectly reflects their own internal struggle. They mention that their precious pocket constitution is showing signs of strain under the weight of these companions. It's so simple and yet so effective. This metaphor reveals how the author's newfound understanding, foundational knowledge of politics, it's also weighing them down too. Just as the poc con evolves, so does the applicant. Around the same time, I started to question the flaws in my beloved Constitution. The Second Amendment ignited debate, the 22nd Amendment faced scrutiny. Theseus' ship came sailing back into my mind. In this section, the author applicant begins to question everything. A key moment in really any good character arc. After all, it's only through overcoming doubt, insecurities, and conflict that we experience true, meaningful growth. This is the setup which later pushes the student to realize that, just like the Constitution, they must learn to adapt. They must learn to keep an open mind, to listen more carefully, to unite communities. You'll also see here that the student actually has 2 motifs, the pocket constitution and Theseus' shit. There's layers to this shit, talky mushroom. I usually don't recommend this approach since it's quite risky, but if you consider yourself a strong writer, you're feeling bold, try going for this approach to add even more depth to your story. By the way, if you guys want to see some of our other Common App essay structures, the proven recipes and formulas that have worked for dozens of our students in the past, I'll add a link somewhere in one of these corners. I can never figure out which one is the right one. So we've talked a lot about growth, but instead of just focusing on intellectual growth, what if there was a way to feature other kinds of growth, such as emotional growth or even spiritual growth? How do you do that, you might be wondering? Well, through V, for vulnerability. Remember the confrontation with the writer and their father? Instead of just stating, my dad was upset that I had turned into a know-it-all, they immerse the reader, you and I, into this moment through dialogue and questions that definitively articulate the student's insecurities. Does the ship remain the same if all the parts have been swapped out and changed? Was it the same book I bought years ago? Am I the same person who'd bought it? A lot of folks think that sensational essays are a resume of your crowning achievements, when in fact, this is a major red flag. It's far more interesting and humanizing to read about your setbacks, your failures, your shortcomings. And because your activities list already includes your honors and awards. The purpose of your essays are to highlight who you are as a human being. Now, we know this whole essay is quite phenomenal, but in my opinion, the best part is actually the last third. Every year, students kind of ask me, Kev, how do I show, not tell? Well, first off, I think this is kind of the wrong question because honestly, your essays are really short and you are going to have to tell in some shape or form at some point in time. So really, we should be asking, how do I show and tell super effectively? Well, the answer is right here. The climax of the story, when the book's cover falls off the morning before the A-Push exam. There's a lot of detail here, and yet it's so succinct. Check out these highlighted phrases. Binding was pristine, devoid of the creases, rough edges, smoothed out by time. Can you feel the smooth versus roughness? Show, don't tell doesn't mean that you need to have paragraphs describing rolling hills or sparkling beaches. The key is to evoke sensory details. In this case, the author focused on touch, but you could describe taste, smell, sound in detail. Sight is a little bit overused, but of course, you can still use that too. Moving on to the essay's conclusion, the section which I believe solidified the students' acceptance to Stanford, Georgetown, and more. What's really wonderful here, what's working, is how the student ends on a genuinely inspiring and future-focused note. They explain that they're not done changing or growing. They're somebody who wants to continue doing that, right? Encountering different perspectives so that they can evolve. Remember, when admission officers are reading your files, they're looking through your activities list and your essays, they're not just trying to accept the most accomplished individual. If that was true, they would just take people with the best awards and valedictorians, but funny enough, they don't do that. Why? Because they're looking to see who would contribute best and most to their future college community. They really do care about personal qualities like courage, honesty, accountability, authenticity. So in your personal statement, just make sure to write 1 or 2 sentences about how you're not done growing. In fact, you're just getting started. Oh my goodness gracious, I almost forgot to mention this, but if you would like your motif essay, or really any Common App essay, supplemental essay edited professionally by our team, check out our website, www.elevated.school/editmyessay. Use this code YouTube15 to get 15% off your first purchase. We're also releasing a bunch of free tools this year, including our brainstorming tool, our Chance Me tool, so check those out in the comment section below. Here's a present for sticking until the end, a video of me breakdancing. Take it easy, guys. Peace.